What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chris, where I'm here to help you save, grow, and protect your money. I am excited about today's video. Shout out to my homie Roland for giving me this question. He said, man, I'm looking to buy a new car. I'm looking to buy a car. It can be new, used, whatever the case may be. How do I know if I can afford it? How do I know if it's a good deal? Can you help me out in this situation? Now, growing to school, looking at some of the experience I had with financial planning, in my thought process of going to buy a car like I did last year, I knew I wanted to buy a car that didn't cost a whole lot of money, but I wanted a very good car. I wanted something reliable. I wanted something that looked good. I wanted something that had the standards that I feel like you should have. Power windows, power lock. Sunroof may be a little luxury, but why not? And also it can look good. I want it to at least look good, but I wanted something that I can really be proud of driving in for the next few years. But I didn't want to pay that much. To be honest with you, I wanted to pay under $20,000 because we have to look at it like we're purchasing something that is a depreciating asset. Cars are a depreciating asset. No matter how we look at it, no matter how it makes us feel when we drive it, when we experience, unless these are some very great, rare, collectible cars, most cars are depreciating asset. Do not let the current used car market right now fool you. Do not let it fool you, okay? So I understood that. I knew I was like, man, I don't want to pay that much because seeing a loan and seeing a total loan of 30, 40, 50,000, I'm like, man, that's 30, 40, 50,000, and I'm only paying $300, $400, $500 a month into paying off this $40, $50, $60,000 car loan. I was like, just seeing that number, I wasn't gonna be able to sleep. So I knew I wanted something that was under 20,000, and I knew that I didn't want something that was close to how much I made per year. I didn't want to pay $80,000 for a car or buy that car and if I make $120,000 a year. It's like, fam, $80,000 car loan and you only make $120,000 a year. It didn't sit right with me. So I got my car based off of, really 10% of my annual income. And, since I have variable money coming in and different levels comes in each month, I did hit that mark, the amount of money I spent for my car and how much I made. 10% is how much I actually bought my car. And that's a good rule of thumb that most of these super frugal gurus that I've been watching, they always say that you should not pay more than 10% of your annual income for your car. So you make $100,000, that means you don't buy a car that's more than $10,000. Just that simple. You make $1 million, guess what? You shouldn't buy a car that costs more than $100,000. There it is. So that's something that I projected that I used, and also I wanted a very low monthly payment that I can really overfund, I can overpay for to get out the way. But what we're going to talk about today, I know that intro was kind of long. We're going to talk about the 20-40-10 rule. And I think this rule is something that I should have used, even though I kind of used it, that real ultra frugal rule. But this rule will be perfect for people that's looking to buy a car. And we're going to reference this from magnifiedmoney.com. And I'm going to make sure this is pinned in the comments so you all can go read it yourself if you want to. So what this rule looks at, everything, looks at the total of the car and looks at the interest rate and looks at the term. Look at the term, how long are you going to pay for this car, and looks at the transportation costs as well, and gives all these reasons why that you should follow this rule. So once again, the rule is 20/4/10. And when we talk about 20, we're talking about 20% down payment on your car. So your car is worth $100,000. You put $20,000 down. Why do you do that? Few reasons why. One, it will lower your interest rate. That's something that you can negotiate because you're putting $20,000 down. You're putting 20% of the total of the car down already. They can leeway and give you a lower interest rate because look at me paying $20,000. Also, there's this thing where cars, like we said, it's a depreciating asset, and you want to lower your gap. And when we're talking about gap, we're talking about how much your car, how much you owe on your car, and how much the car is worth. So if your car is $100,000, but it's only worth $80,000, then you have a gap of $20,000. But that's why they say put the 20% down, because you put 20% down, now your loan is $80,000, and if your car is valued at $80,000, that's how much it's worth. Then if something happens, if you need to sell the car for whatever reason, or you get in an accident, you get a total loss of the car, and your insurance gives you a check, you want to make sure that you don't owe the bank any money. Because if you get into an accident and your car is only worth $80,000, but you owe $100,000, somebody has to pay the remaining $20,000. So that's why they say you want to put 20% down, because it lowers that risk. It lowers that you gain leverage for that. You want to make sure that you're decreasing that gap. You either want to be ahead of the gap, or you want to be as low as possible of the gap. You do not want to be upside down or underwater on your car, meaning that you don't want to owe more than what it's worth. Cool. And I think that's a good rule of thumb. So if you cannot do 20, you need to do at least 10. Don't be like, I don't have, if you ain't got money for a down payment, try to get a total, like your total amount of your car, it should be less than $10,000. It should be as less as possible. You don't have no down payment for your car, do not buy anything over $10,000. I'm not going to do it with y'all. The 4 is the term, 4 years. Where I made a mistake is I got a 5-year, but I'm overfunded mine, so I know I'm going to be past. I'm going to beat 5 years, and that's fine. But you want to be in an agreement to pay something back as low as possible. You don't want that time to be long. You don't want to just be in, especially we're talking about a depreciating asset. When we're talking about a house or a mortgage, that's a whole different story, because you're building equity. It's a whole different story. With a depreciating asset, something that is costing us money, we don't want to pay costs longer than we need to. That's why the 4 years is really good, and also will lower your interest rate as well. That's something that you like, hey, I'm going to pay off this car quicker than normal people. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to get this out the way as possible. So you want to make sure that you can negotiate that as well, negotiate tax. And like I said, you don't want to owe somebody for long. And then when you have the interest rate attached to it, you're paying a year worth of interest on the car loan if you do a 5-year versus a 4-year. So it's only going to save you money. So that's why they say you want to do the 4-year loan, and that's why the last one is 10. So you got 20, 4, and you got 10. The last one is 10, and you want your transportation cost to be less than 10% of your monthly expenses. So that means that your transportation cost is like your gas, it's like your insurance, and it's like your maintenance/repairs of the car. So we gotta understand, certain insurances cost a lot for certain cars. You drive a V6, V8, you know they're gonna tax you, because you gonna drive the car fast, and they just gonna suspect the algorithm gonna calculate like, nah, this man gonna have to pay for some insurance. Don't even get me started on gas for those vehicles. You already know it's plus or premium, period. So we have to look at ourselves like, man, I'm making $80,000. I'm thinking about buying this $50,000, $60,000 Hellcat, whatever the case may be. How much that's going to cost you per month, including your monthly payment, including your gas, including your insurance, and what if something goes wrong on the maintenance? Is that going to be anything around 10% of your monthly expenses? And if people really sit down, plug the numbers in, people are paying 30 to 40% of their monthly expenses on their cars, because their cars just cost so much. With the monthly payment, with the insurance, 40% of your expenses is to your car? How? Like what? It should be anything between really less than 10. You want to be as close to 10 as possible. Obviously, you want to be less, but you don't want to be no higher than 20. Because if all of your expenses are going to a depreciating asset of this car, unless it's a asset, a way that you're making and building money from that car, it may not make sense financially. So if you have these millionaires, multi-millionaires are buying $30,000 cars. $30,000 cars, that's like somebody making $60,000 a year buying a $500 car. If we just put that in perspective, there are multi-millionaires are buying $20,000 to $30,000 cars and keeping them for a very long time. We're talking like Ford Explorers, F-150s, and we're talking about used. We ain't talking about new. I already know they cost more now anyways, right? We put things in perspective. You make $60,000, we follow that rule, that's like buying a $500 car. These people are playing a different game. So we have to understand how much can we afford and how much are we really putting ourselves in. How much do you want to pay? Do you want to pay $30,000 for a car? It's going to cost you $30,000. Do you want to pay $50,000 for a car? It's going to cost you $50,000. It's going to take a long time to pay the car. It's going to take 5 years. That's 5 years of monthly expenses coming out your pocket. 5 years. A long time to pay for these vehicles. You know, and like I said, if you have to have the ability to understand when we're talking about money management, you got to think futuristically as well. You got to be realistic. You know, you want to elevate in your lifestyle. You want to elevate in your travel. You want to buy property. You want to move to a new home. Like, if your income is not growing at the rate of you spending money, you can get yourself in a rat race and you can live paycheck to paycheck. That's why I don't even look at how much people make per year to determine if they're wealth or rich. I have to see everything. I don't know. I have to see everything. You can make $300,000 a year, but your expense is $290,000, and you're not saving anything. You're not investing nothing. You just may be doing some BS. Maybe doing just like some minimum. Then I don't know if you live a paycheck to paycheck. How much are you spending? I want everybody to really figure out that question. You have a car. How much is your car costing you a month? How much are you spending? I think that's one of the things you got to really look at. How much do I want to spend? How much do I want to pay? How much is it going to be? This interest rate has to be as low as possible. That's why it's important to get your credit up. If your credit is up, you get a lower interest rate. A lower interest rate means you save more money. Anything, I'm telling you, interest rates will kill people. Anything over really, I mean, obviously you want to say like 2 or 3, but anything over realistically like 8 or 9% is wild. It's wild. I know people having like 17% interest rate on their car loans. I know they're out there. I've seen some 20s. I know they're out there. You have all this stuff is going to make sense. It has to make sense. Everything goes together. It's literally a game. You have to learn the game. You have to learn the game, and you have to know that all these things that may not be fun, that may not be, it may be embarrassing, it may be something that it's like, man, I don't want to look at because I don't want to get down on myself. We can't do that. We have to know exactly what's going on, because if we don't, we can really lose out on a lot of money here. Real quick tips before I go. Get pre-approved before financing. Before you go to the dealership or wherever you buy your car, you can get a better interest rate, and you know how much money they would give for your loan. So they'd be like, hey, we'll give you $10,000, find a $10,000 car at this loan interest rate, and then that's just making life a lot easier. You want to buy used. Obviously, you ain't got to buy a new car, but you want to buy used. I understand why people want to buy new cars. As long as you're keeping it forever, it's cool with me. But you got to make sure that you getting a good car. Also, you want to buy a car that holds its value. You can find a car that holds its value. It lowers the liability of that gap of you being underwater, because cars that can hold their value is a good thing. Also, you want a car that's good on gas. We already know that. But if you're going to sacrifice that for a better engine, then don't complain. Also, you can compare everything. You know what I mean? You compare different insurances and their prices. You can compare different dealerships to a certain car you want. If you put the work in, it's like having a second job, you can find the best deal possible for you. It just takes time. But, like I said, know how much you want to spend. Know how much your interest rate is. Know what your credit is. Know what all those things are that I named in this video for you to get the best deal possible. Do your research. Do your work. And you can find it. Hopefully this video helps. This is your boy Chris. I am glad to always help and educate everybody. If you have a question, you can always DM me or you can leave in the comments. I am here to help you. I'll see you all next time.